Welcome to Brewers Daily. I'm your host, Dave Gasper. Lots to get to on the show today as we're starting to wrap up the year 2025 as it is coming to an end here. So we'll get to some of the top moves that the Brewers made this season. Top three moves that Matt Arnold made for this team, and an honorable mention that was very underrated that I think we need to talk about as well. Baseball America put out a redraft of the 2021 MLB draft, so we'll dig into that a little bit. But first, I want to get to some actual news here that happened. We're finally seeing something on the transaction wire because, again, this week between Christmas and New Year's, not a lot is happening. And really, for the Brewers, in terms of rumors, in terms of what we're hearing, it is all quiet on the Western Front. I mean, it has been basically nothing from them for the last couple of weeks, really since the trade of Isaac Collins. That's really kind of been it. By the way, All Quiet on the Western Front, fantastic movie. It's on Netflix, came out a couple of years ago. Great war movie, just absolutely incredible. If you haven't seen it yet, highly recommend that you do. But I want to start with an actual move here. Esteury Ruiz. Remember him? Former Brewers prospect acquired in the Josh Hader trade. He's on the move again. The Dodgers had him this past year, and he wasn't really doing much for them because the Dodgers are loaded, so they didn't really have any need for Esteury Ruiz. But they end up trading him to the Marlins for an 18-year-old pitching prospect who's just signed last year out of the Dominican Summer League. So that's what Esteury Ruiz is now. He is being flipped for a lottery ticket 18-year-old pitching prospect from Latin America. That's what he is. 3 years ago, Esteury Ruiz was traded straight up for William Contreras, Yoel Payamps, and Justin Yeager. Now, granted, it was a 3-team deal, so the Athletics were getting a lot more than just Esteury Ruiz in that whole thing. But, the way it was all working, the Brewers only gave up Esteury Ruiz in order to get those three players back. I mean, they were the facilitator in that 3-team deal with Sean Murphy going to Atlanta, Manny Pena, and several prospects from Atlanta going over to Oakland. And, they wanted, another higher level prospect, and they wanted Esteury Ruiz. So the Brewers just dumped him in there because the A's didn't want William Contreras. Brewers said, we'll take him. And they flipped Ruiz on his own for Contreras and a couple of really good years out of Yoel Payamps, plus a relief prospect in Justin Yeager, who hasn't really panned out at this point. He's a minor league free agent right now, so he may come back, he may not. But still, being able to get obviously one of the best catchers in the game in William Contreras and a really productive reliever for a number of years in Yoel Payamps for just Esteury Ruiz, an incredible move by Matt Arnold in his first offseason at the helm. And we'll talk about a couple, again, of his great moves that he made this year later on in the show here. But yeah, that's what Esteury Ruiz is going for now. Scraps, a lottery ticket pitching prospect. How the mighty have fallen and how Matt Arnold sold high at the right time. That trade has single-handedly saved the Josh Hader deal. I mean, the Josh Hader trade was an absolute disaster for the Brewers. I mean, they used that. That was supposed to be the starting point to several other moves at that trading deadline. I mean, they made that move the day before the deadline. They were doing that to try and get some of those guys, the Dinelson Lamets, the Esteury Ruizes of the world. They were trying to get them in to then flip them in other deals at that deadline. They were trying to pull off something really, really tough, and it didn't go through. It all completely fell apart on them in the next 24 hours, and it was a really, really bad look for the organization. Really bad look for David Stearns and Matt Arnold in that front office at the time. But then to be able to flip Esteury Ruiz without any additional help, just Esteury Ruiz, to be able to flip him and get Contreras back, to get Payamps back, now all of a sudden we look at the Josh Hader trade, it's like, hey, Josh Hader trade netted us William Contreras. It took you an extra step to get there, but yeah, when you had Dinelson Lamet DFA'd after 2 days, he didn't even pitch for the team, things like that, it was really bad. But Esteury Ruiz single-handedly saved that trade and what he was able to be flipped for. And now Ruiz, he has really struggled to find success at the big league level. So great time for the Brewers to get out while the getting was good on Ruiz. So he now goes to the Marlins, and he should have a much better opportunity to crack the big league roster in Miami than he did in Los Angeles, because there's no room for him to make the team with the Dodgers. So he'll get a better opportunity over there, and hopefully he'll be able to make something of it. I don't wish anything bad upon Esteury Ruiz. I want him to succeed, but yeah, it's a great time for the Brewers to get out there. So I saw this today here too. The Baseball America dropped their 2021 redraft of the MLB draft, because now we're about 5 years down the road from it, so we got a pretty good idea of what these players are and who really should have been taken early on, who's been the most successful. And in this redraft, the Brewers end up landing Mason Miller. Now, initially with this pick, the Brewers had Sal Frelick in the 2021 draft. And Sal Frelick has obviously worked out pretty well. But in this redraft, the Brewers land Mason Miller, who is a high-octane arm, was with the Athletics, then got traded, obviously, to the Padres this year for a big-time prospect package. But an elite closer, an elite back-end arm. His stuff is incredible, and it's stuff that the Brewers do like. They do like those kinds of pitchers. So I think it's certainly a very intriguing idea. If we were to redraft 2021, the Brewers being able to get Mason Miller, I think they'd be fairly happy with that, with what he's turned out to be. And the only reason that the Brewers don't redraft Sal Frelick again in this 2021 redraft is because Sal Frelick went higher than 15. He's just been too good, too productive. He ended up going 8th overall to the Colorado Rockies in Baseball America's redraft. So, yeah, it makes sense. Sal Frelick, a very productive player. He's been basically exactly what the scouting reports thought he would be. And he's been phenomenal. So the fact that he's panned out there, the Rockies certainly could use as much help as they can get. It's, if you're going to lose out on Sal Frelick there, Mason Miller is a pretty solid fallback option on that 2021 redraft. So just kind of idea of what could have been with this draft if we had the foresight to really kind of know how things would have worked out. Sal Frelick would have gone higher. Mason Miller would have gone higher than he did, and perhaps the Brewers end up getting him here. So just kind of very, very fun idea. But that was not one of the transactions the Brewers made this year. They did not trade for Mason Miller, but they did make some other moves that were pretty fantastic. So I want to get to my top 3 moves that Matt Arnold made, that the Brewers made this season. And they had, some really great ones. Obviously, Matt Arnold again wins MLB Executive of the Year, the first 2-time winner of the award, and he wins it in back-to-back seasons, helping this team get to 97 wins. And these 3 transactions were major reasons why, and they were all carried out here in 2025. And coming in at number 3, Jose Quintana, getting signed to a 1-year deal during spring training there. Pat Murphy was pushing for it. We were starting to see those starting pitchers go down with injury, and the Brewers get in the wily veteran Jose Quintana. They needed some more pitching depth as spring was going along, and he's someone who had killed them over the years, so it was great to get him on their side for once. He just pitched against them in Game 3 of that 2024 Wild Card Series. So to get Quintana in on a 1-year deal, fairly cheap, provided some really important innings for the team this year, and some important leadership for that rotation as well, because he has seen and done it all. And even when he didn't have his best stuff, he was still somehow able to give you 6 innings of 1-run ball or 2-run ball. He was able to gut it out and just have a really phenomenal season for the Brewers. So Jose Quintana comes in as my number 3 transaction of the season for the Brewers. Coming in at number 2, a mid-season trade, Andrew Vaughn for Aaron Savale. Aaron Savale was getting pushed to the bullpen. He didn't like it. He wanted to be a starting pitcher. He truly believed that he still had so much to give to the game as a starting pitcher. He belonged in a rotation, just couldn't cut it in Milwaukee's rotation. So he was angry. He was upset. He didn't want to stick around and pitch out of the bullpen in Milwaukee. So they said, okay, fine. We'll trade you someplace else. Matt Arnold made some calls. The Chicago White Sox were interested, and they flipped someone else who needed a change of scenery, and Andrew Vaughn, a former number 3 overall pick, who really struggled the last couple of years and was demoted to AAA there for the White Sox. And think about how bad the White Sox are. And he wasn't even good enough to be on the White Sox Major League roster. I mean, they sent him down to AAA, and Andrew Vaughn comes in. He spends a couple of weeks down in AAA Nashville for the Brewers. Then Rhys Hoskins injures his thumb, goes on the IL, and the Brewers call up Vaughn, and Vaughn just absolutely raked immediately upon joining the big league roster. I mean, he had such a hot stretch when he first got there. I mean, we in the media basically talked to him nearly every single night after the games. I mean, he was probably getting sick of us talking to him, but still, what Vaughn was able to do was incredible. He was able to get his own T-shirt within a month of being on the big league roster. I mean, it was just incredible. He helped them win a bunch of games during that stretch. I mean, he is such an impactful player. And now he's their starting first baseman going into next season. So, and to be able to do that under the pressure of a trade request from Aaron Savali, where you have basically zero leverage. Okay, Matt Arnold had almost no leverage because everyone in the league knew Aaron Savali wanted out. You wanted to get something good, it's going to be hard to, because it's like, look, man, your hands are tied. You got to get rid of this dude. You can't keep him around. No one's really going to give you much. The Chicago White Sox didn't think Andrew Vaughn was much, so like, yeah, you know what? Sure, fine. He needs a new spot. We'll take Savali, put him in our rotation. Savali, kind of struggled there, and he ended up pitching out of the bullpen anyways when he got put on waivers and claimed by the Cubs, and he pitched out of their bullpen. But to be able to, again, to get Andrew Vaughn out of that and just what he was able to do, I'm not sure how much of that was luck. I think there was certainly a large factor of luck, but for Matt Arnold to identify Andrew Vaughn as someone that they would like to get and someone that could help them, I think that was just an incredibly shrewd move by Matt Arnold, and it's my number 2 move of the year. And you may be wondering, how can that be the number 2 move of the season? What could be better than that the Brewers made? Coming in at number 1, the Quinn Priester trade. In early April, the Brewers sent out Esteury Ruiz. They sent out John Holibetz, and they sent out a draft pick in order to get Quinn Priester, who was in AAA for Boston. They were desperate for starting pitching at the time. Nestor Cortez just got hurt. They needed something. They needed bodies because they could not, and they simply could not stand another Elvin Rodriguez start with how bad things were going there. And they got Quinn Priester, who ended up winning, the Brewers won 19 games in a row that he started. He turned out to be simply phenomenal. Now, I will admit, at the time, I thought this was a horrible move. I thought this was the worst move of the year, the worst move that Matt Arnold maybe had ever made as GM. Sending out a top 10 prospect, sending out so much capital in Esteury Ruiz, who could be an absolute stud going forward, who is having a phenomenal start in High A, Wisconsin. And then sending out another, pretty good high-octane arm that you just drafted not long ago, plus another draft pick in a fairly good draft class when you would have had back-to-back picks in this past year's draft. I mean, there's so much you could have done with that, with the draft capital, the resources, the bonus pool money that they would have had. They could have used that. And it seemed like Matt Arnold, he really had no leverage because he was desperate for pitching. He needed to make a move to get just somebody in to help out, bridge the gap until Jose Quintana could be activated, and until all these other guys, could be able to come back, until Tobias Myers could return, DL Hall, Aaron Ashby, getting them back from injury. Until those guys could get back, they needed something. And he traded quite a bit at the time for Quinn Priester, but Quinn Priester has proven to be everything that they could have hoped for and more. And so I have gone from this being arguably the worst move of Matt Arnold's tenure at the time to his best move of the year. It's my number 1 move of the season. It's a mea culpa. I was totally wrong on that initial take. I mean, Priester hadn't proven anything at the time in the big league level, but Chris Hook has worked his magic with them. The Brewers have been able to get the talent, tap into the talent that he has, and he was a phenomenal pickup. He was such a huge piece of this team that down the whole stretch, really all season, and he's going to be a big piece of this rotation going forward. So that is 100% their top move of the year, getting Quinn Priester in exchange for that trade package. Just an incredible move by Matt Arnold. And this is why also I generally don't look at any moves that the Brewers make and go immediately negative. Because the rare times that I do, the rare times I say this trade stinks, what are they doing, what are they thinking, the very rare times that I do, they always end up still proving me wrong and ending up coming out on the better end of it. So that's why, I've started to learn the lesson here of like, look, whatever trade they make, whatever it is, on its surface, it may look bad, but the Brewers know what they're doing. So it's going to turn out pretty good. It's going to turn out all right, by and large for these moves. So that's my top moves, my top 3 moves of the Brewers 2025 season. But there's an underrated one that I think we got to talk about as well that I want to mention. An honorable mention, perhaps, for the top move, because, I mean, this one doesn't really compare to the Quinn Priesters and the Andrew Vaughn trades of the world, but this one should get some notice as well. And it was actually the first move that the Brewers made in 2025, the first transaction, when they acquired Grant Anderson from the Texas Rangers in exchange for minor league left-hander Mason Molina, who was like a 7th-round pick the year before in 2024. Getting Grant Anderson, he was such a big piece of this bullpen. Now, I know some people were kind of hating on him towards the end of the season, but he was an underrated pickup at the time. Everyone was like, oh, okay, didn't really have great numbers with Texas. But the Brewers, again, they did some work on him. They were able to make some tweaks. And Grant Anderson was a really reliable and impactful reliever for this Brewers club. He was almost an afterthought of a pickup coming into the bullpen picture, coming into the season. Grant Anderson was kind of an afterthought. He didn't break the opening day roster with the club, but he had some really good moments and was a really great pickup. So that's my underrated honorable mention transaction of the year that the Brewers made. It was the first one that they made. So who knows? Maybe we'll have that again coming up here in the beginning of January 2026, because it was January 2nd, 2025 when that move went through for Grant Anderson. So perhaps we'll see something soon here that can be that top transaction of 2026. And I'm certainly excited for that. Certainly excited to see some more transactions come through. And when they do, again, be sure to stay here on Brewers Daily. Get notified every single time a new episode drops. Hit that subscribe button. And also follow me on Twitter at dgasper24, where you'll have my instant reactions to any of the moves that the Brewers make. But also I'll go in depth here on Brewers Daily as well to all those moves as the offseason continues here and we head towards the 2026 calendar turn. Thank you for watching. Thank you for enjoying. And again, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.